All right, let's get into it. Today we're going to unpack one of the most disturbing and complicated scandals of our time, the story of Jeffrey Epstein. This is a story about unbelievable wealth, untouchable power, and some very, very dark secrets that have reached the highest levels of society.
So right at the heart of this whole thing is a place called Little St. James. It's this 75-acre private island in the Caribbean. And on the surface, it was paradise. You're talking luxury villas, gorgeous beaches, a playground for the world's richest and most famous people. But underneath that shiny surface was a living hell. The locals actually nicknamed it Pedophile Island. It was a place where underage girls were brought, abused, and trapped. One girl, just 15, even tried to swim away to escape but was caught and had her passport taken. And really, this island, it's the perfect metaphor for this entire scandal. A beautiful facade hiding something truly awful.
So who was the man behind this island of secrets? Jeffrey Epstein. And his story is, well, it's pretty wild. You're not going to believe this, but he started out as a math teacher in Brooklyn. How he went from that to a multi-millionaire financial advisor is still a bit of a mystery. But along the way, he built this insane network of the most powerful people on the planet.
And when we say powerful, we mean powerful. We're talking about former U.S. presidents like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, British royalty like Prince Andrew, even the famous scientist Stephen Hawking, and the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. This network wasn't just a side effect of his wealth, it was absolutely central to his power, and, for a very long time, it's what made him feel untouchable.
So, for years, despite everything that was happening, it really seemed like the system just looked the other way. This next part of our explainer is all about that first investigation and the shocking legal maneuvers that left pretty much everyone, especially the victims, completely stunned.
What was happening wasn't random at all. It was a highly organized operation. The police uncovered this horrifying pyramid scheme. Here's how it worked. Epstein would target a vulnerable young girl, pay her for a so-called massage, which would lead to abuse, and then he'd offer her more money to bring in her friends. It created this horrible chain, where each victim was tragically used to recruit the next one into the same nightmare.
And the scale of this, it was just staggering right from the very beginning. It all kicked off in 2005 when a 14-year-old girl and her parents finally went to the police. Once investigators started following the trail from one victim to the next, the chain just kept getting longer and longer. In just a few months, they'd identified over 36 underage victims.
This quote from one of the victims, it just stops you in your tracks. She explained that when she was trying to get a job, she opened up about her difficult past, thinking it might help her. But instead, she said, "I just let them know that I'm vulnerable and I'm their perfect type." It just shows you the cold, calculated, and predatory thinking behind all of this.
Okay, so you have the FBI involved, you have a 53-page federal report detailing international sex trafficking. Epstein should have been looking at life in prison, right? Well, that's not what happened. Instead, a federal attorney named Alexander Acosta brokered a secret plea deal. It gave Epstein and his co-conspirators total immunity from all federal charges. All he had to do was plead guilty to a couple of minor state charges. And the most outrageous part? The deal was sealed, hidden from the public, and completely illegally from his victims.
So what was the sentence for trafficking and abusing dozens of girls? A mere 18 months. And get this, it wasn't even a real prison sentence. He was put in a private wing of the county jail and given work release, which meant he got to go to his fancy office for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He basically just had to sleep in jail. It was a joke.
After he was released in 2009, Epstein went right back to his life of luxury and parties. For almost 10 years, the whole story just went cold. But one journalist refused to let this injustice be forgotten.
And that journalist was Julie K. Brown from the Miami Herald. After years of digging into this case, she published a bombshell series in 2018 called Perversion of Justice. It blew the lid off the secret plea deal and all the system failures that let Epstein get away with it. Her reporting just created a massive firestorm of public anger. And her work revealed the true scope of this horror. While the first police investigation found over 36 victims, Julie K. Brown's reporting identified more than 80 potential victims. She interviewed many of them, documented their stories, and the pressure just became too much to ignore. Authorities in New York were finally forced to reopen the case.
So in 2019, Epstein was arrested again. It looked like justice might finally be coming. But then, the story took its most shocking and controversial turn yet.
So July 2019, Epstein is arrested, this time facing 45 years. But just 1 month later, he's found dead in his cell. The official cause was ruled a suicide, but almost nobody believed it. The phrase "Epstein didn't kill himself" went viral, becoming this huge slogan. It fueled all these conspiracy theories that he was silenced to protect his powerful friends.
And all of that set the stage for the fight to unseal his files.
So after years of public screaming and political pressure, a bunch of court documents finally started to get released. So the big question is, what did we actually learn?
All that public pressure led to a really rare moment in politics. You had a bipartisan effort in Washington push through a bill to force the Justice Department to start releasing the files. Of course, both sides are kind of hoping it would expose their opponents.
And these first document dumps did have some major names. The files reportedly showed that Donald Trump flew on Epstein's private plane multiple times. They also included a really shocking FBI tip from a limo driver passing along a woman's allegation of rape against both Trump and Epstein way back in 1999. As for Bill Clinton, the source material notes he was mentioned a lot in conspiracy theories that were spread by political opponents, trying to connect him to Epstein's death.
But here's the thing you have to understand. What we've seen is not the full story. Not even close. It's just a tiny fraction of the total documents. Most of the pages are covered in black marker, redacting names and details. And get this, in some cases, the reductions were done so badly that people figured out you could just copy and paste the blacked out text to see what was underneath. And most importantly, there has been no official client list released to the public.
And that brings us to the most frustrating number in this entire saga. There are still over 1 million documents related to this case that are sealed, completely hidden from public view. The little bit that we have seen is just the very, very tip of a massive, dark iceberg.
Which leaves us with the final haunting question. With so much information still locked away, what other secrets are hidden in those Epstein files? How many other powerful people are involved? And will we ever get the full truth about this massive criminal network? That is the big, unanswered question at the heart of America's biggest scandal.